All right, let's move on to Lions, Packers. Lions, Packers up next. Detroit, Green Bay. Packers open up at -5.5. They're now 6s on the board at almost every book, but not every book. This total opened up at 46.5 and is shot up to 48.5 and 49. And now the 49.5s are on the board. Favre looked awesome against the inexperienced cornerbacks of the Minnesota Vikings. 364 yards, 4 touchdowns. Devontae Adams, 14 catches for 156 yards. He was all over the field. But, and there's a big but here, and that's the injuries to that offensive line for the Packers. You have Billy Turner didn't play with the knee injury. Then Lucas Patrick. So Elgin Jenkins comes in and replaces him. But then Lucas Patrick forced out in the second period, so Jenkins moves back to his original spot. Then they bring Rick Wagner over at right tackle. Then Lane Taylor, the right guard, taken off on a cart. So they have to bring in John Runyon. So why don't we start with that? How will that affect the Packers moving forward? And is it possible that we can take advantage of everybody seeing the points that they put up and not really studying what's gone on to the offensive line?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I just wonder if that's not a bigger problem with a different quarterback. When you got Aaron Rodgers, and as Intex 2016 is saying, Aaron Rodgers with a chip on his shoulder, the way he played in week 1 was spectacular. That was vintage Aaron Rodgers. So I don't know how much an injured O-line is going to ruin that. Their defense is a bigger question. Their defense, they got good edge rushers, but their linebacking core is suspect. I think that's a bigger issue for me than their injured offensive line because, as long as they got Bakhtiari healthy, protecting Rodgers' blind side, the guy he's so good at getting the ball out. He's still so good at maneuvering in and around the pocket. And, Green Bay seems to just churn out productive offensive linemen, unless they're facing a powerhouse rush, which they're really not with Detroit. There's some talent on that defensive front, but not so much they're going to kill Aaron Rodgers. So I don't know if that highlights a play for me. That I don't know if you're seeing something that other people aren't yet because of the injuries. You're right, that point total is going to make people pretty excited, but also, Detroit just blew a game to Mitchell Trubisky. Like, how do you have any faith in Detroit at this point?
Stafford goes 24 for 42, 297 yards. Hawkinson looks very good. Adrian Peterson, 93 yards on 14 carries. Something that he's not been able to do over the last few years is keep that momentum going. After he has a giant game, something that Whale Capper would do. After he would have like a massive 100-yard game, Whale Capper would take his under in the next game and cash every single time. Kenny Golladay and Jeff Okudah inactive with hamstring injuries. And then during the game, they lose starting cornerbacks Desmond Trufant and Justin Coleman to hamstring injuries. I don't want the Detroit Lions.
No, I definitely stay off the Lions. I mean, a lot of what I said about the Lions came true. And if you'll remember, I was big on Hawkinson. I really think that guy's going to have a big year, but I just don't see Detroit coming through in this game. Injuries to the O-line or not, I don't think that's going to be a huge effect. Traveling to Green Bay later in the year might be a bigger thing, but I would lean Packers to cover on this. I just there's enough uncertainty with that defense that I don't love this play. But again, gun to my head, I'm going Pack.
Ben's Money says a perfect overreaction to week 1 on both sides, and he might be absolutely right. We must be absolutely right. Sunny Springs joining us. Thanks for joining us. Also, Paco Healy. We got Jay Peach. Jay Peach says it's week 1, but Green Bay looks like Super Bowl material. the Lions play the Packers tough, and divisional game that I'm going to stay off of at this point. Do you agree with this market move towards the over? Are Packers going to be over darlings? 46.5 to 49.5, Bebsy.
If Aaron Rodgers keeps playing with his chip on his shoulder, you could see it. You could see them stacking up points. Devontae Adams looked fantastic, but I mean, that throw on the run, that dime he threw to Devontae Adams on the sideline or the edge of the end zone, that was just a beautiful run and catch. That was vintage Rodgers. It was such a beautiful play to watch. I don't think they're going to be firing up that many points. Like, let's not forget the interior of that secondary for the Vikings is great, but they're still so suspect at corner that I don't know if you can really get that excited about being torched.
So, you're going to develop relationships with these great cappers that I hang out with every day, and it's a lot of fun. And one guy, Noli knows, he's the man who's made unders great again. He's just always looking for unders. And he says, yes, Jimmy, I will not be looking to take unders with Green Bay. Jay Peach says Rodgers still has it. Uknatty says Rodgers looked great, but the Vikings defensive backs were terrible. They were. It's funny. Dennis Garcia makes an interesting point. He said Detroit blew the game to Arizona last year. Remember, it was at week 1, I believe. And I think they tied that game.
Yeah.
And then came back and beat the Chargers in week 2. Comfortable stay off game. And so I'm off this one.